Good day, everybody.
Good day.
We are going to start 5S Management System Module 2 training. And with me is the Dr. Nigel.
Hello.
You have already introduction of the Dr. Nigel. And we will try to finish this 5S Management System Module 2 during this session. This is just an introduction of our project. As you know that in the last module 1, I have briefed you about this project. This is an EU funded project under 11th EDF, and UNIDO is the basically implementing agency. This is West Africa Competitiveness Project for Sierra Leone. And under this project, there are basically 3 main areas. One is the quality infrastructure services. This is the testing, certification, and these kind of services in the country. Then there are value chain development area. In this value chain development area, there are the 3 value chains. One is cassava, palm oil, and cocoa. We are developing the value chain. Then the third area is to develop the business policies to enable the business atmosphere. And UNIDO approach for these 3 pillars is to create competitiveness for the country. Then once the competitiveness of the produce, those are the 3 value chain would be created, we will basically confirm those produce as per the international best practices. Once your produce are competitive and you are conforming to the regional and international standard, then you can be connected to the global market or you can be connected to the regional market. So this is UNIDO 3 C's approach: competitiveness, conformance, and connectivity. And this approach basically leads you from produce up to the marketing. In this 5S Module 2 course, we have divided this into basically 3 main sections. In the last module 1, we have discussed the first 2 S's of the 5S. And now in this module 2, Dr. Nigel and I would try to discuss about the remaining 3 S. And we have converted this each S into 3 sections. And the first section in this would be third S, that will be the CISO and Shine. Section 2 would be 4S, that will be CISO and Standardize. And the section 3 would be 5S, that would be with respect to sustainability of all this 5S into your organization. I think this is just an introduction of the module 2. And in the last section, definitely there is one last section. Dr. Nigel would brief you how you can implement this 5S with respect to practical point of view into different organizations. I would request Dr. Nigel to please carry on from this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Shaukat. Yeah, you will recall from the first module, and hopefully by now you've had an opportunity to try to put this into practice yourselves, the sorting out and the straightening. Separating the useful from the not so useful, or in some cases the useless things that you have about your office or about your workplace, or it may be, as we suggested in the exercise for you to do, it may be in your wardrobe at home or in your kitchen. But the important thing to recognize is that this is not a one-off activity, not something that you do and then forget about it. This is something that is ongoing. And this is where the essence of a quality management system starts. You remember in Module 1, we talked about the need to generate a quality culture in an organization. Part of that culture is having a work environment, a workplace that feels like it is a quality workplace, not full of rubbish, full of useless equipment, full of excess paper, full of complicating things that we don't need to do. So we've been through the process of sorting out, straightening. We now look at the third S, which is the shining. And the objectives of shining basically are to enhance the overall equipment effectiveness, to enhance the health and safety of employees where we can see hazards more clearly, create that culture of cleanliness in the organization, and by doing that, improve the quality of our products and processes. Obviously, in some industries, some sectors, we have to have a clean workplace. Otherwise, we can't carry out the processes appropriately. Food safety, for example, is one where the hygiene in the workplace is very linked to the way in which the workplace is organized. Or in a semiconductor factory where then the product may be very susceptible to dirt and dust and things like that. We also help to improve the productivity of operations and production, and we'll talk more about this idea of 5S being a precursor to lean manufacturing, lean production, where we can actually see what's going on in the production line because it's not so cluttered and messy. And finally, to improve worker morale. Worker, we mean everyone in the workplace, not just the operators, but from the lowest level right up to the senior management level. What we want to do is create a cleaning culture where everybody is a janitor. Can we do that? You know, some people feel too proud to clean up after themselves. Cultural questions. I went through the 5S program and we implemented it, as I mentioned in the first module, in our steelworks more than 30 years ago. Even today, if I'm in a meeting and we're all sitting around a meeting table and during the meeting people are drinking coffee from disposable coffee cups and they're maybe having biscuits, at the end of the meeting it's a question of habit. As I leave the meeting, I will straighten my chair, I will clear away my own coffee cup and throw it away, and I will make sure that I leave that room ready for the next people who want to occupy it. That is what we mean by the idea that everybody is a janitor. You know, sometimes we get the impression that I'm too important to clean up after myself. Nobody's too important to clean up after themselves. Can we do it? Yes, we can. And I'll give you the example. When I think it was Nissan Motors installed their first manufacturing plant in the United Kingdom. The senior managers came over from Japan and they were appalled by the state of the toilets in the manufacturing facility. Now, some of you may have heard Dr. Deming very often used to say, I can tell how the quality of the organization is by going to the toilet in the production facility. If it's clean and tidy and well organized, that tells me that that organization has pride in the way they work. And they look after the toilets. And it may seem something very trivial, but if you go into the toilet and it's totally dirty and smelly and messy, that's degrading for all the employees who have to use that toilet. Now, what happened was the senior executives from Japan came over, they went into the toilet in the manufacturing facility and they were appalled. And they rolled up their sleeves and they got the cleaning equipment out and they cleaned the toilets. And then maybe a few days later, it was back in the bad state. Once again, they went and they cleaned the toilets. And slowly, slowly, the people in that manufacturing plant started to get embarrassed. They started to get uncomfortable that senior management was using the toilets and was setting an example by cleaning the toilets. And slowly but surely, everybody started to buy into this. And rather than throwing, toilet paper or paper towels, throwing those onto the floor, people started taking care and taking pride in their place of work. So I really can't stress too much just how important this question of not being too proud to clean up after ourselves is. That is so important to the whole culture of quality. And in fact, that's the biggest hurdle. Can we make a conscious decision ourselves, regardless of our position, hierarchical position in the organization? Can we resolve to take care of our own equipment and do some acts of cleaning by ourselves? Now, as we'll see a little bit later on, it's not just about cleaning. It's about the culture of keeping our equipment in a state where we can see if anything goes wrong. The equipment in the manufacturing plant is dirty and messy and there's oil all over the place and dust all over the place. It's very difficult for us to see if there is an oil leak. But if we keep our equipment clean and tidy and the floor under the equipment free from clutter and free from messy things, we can immediately see if there is an oil leak. And we can start to do something about that, either by ourselves or by calling somebody from maintenance before it's too late, before the equipment breaks down, before the equipment overheats, and so on. So this is an example of one company did the spring cleaning day. This was over 10 years ago, but the creation of that clean situation and sorting out not just sorting out the necessary from the unnecessary, but once we've got the necessary things there, cleaning them, making sure that they are in tip-top condition so that we can be proud of them. Now, there's a three-step approach to the third S. First of all, at the macro level, cleaning everything and dealing with the overall causes. So if things are dirty and dusty and messy, why are they dirty and dusty and messy? Maybe that there's a window pane broken and the dust is coming in from outside. Or it may be that the extraction system is not working as it should be and needs some maintenance. So it's not just a question of cleaning things, letting them get dirty and then cleaning them again. We'll talk a little bit later on about the standardization and the actual discipline in maintaining. At the individual level, we can clean our specific workplace, keep our particular pieces of machinery that we are responsible for, that we use in our day-to-day, keeping them clean. And then at the micro level, making sure that specific parts and tools within that particular equipment are properly identified and corrected. Rather than just running the equipment into the ground, waiting for it to stop working, and then calling maintenance to come and fix it. That is a very expensive way of going about things. So typically, we will have a cleaning responsibility schedule. Let's divide responsibility for daily tasks to different people. Maybe something simple. If you're in a university environment, I'm sure you have coffee rooms where you go to make your cups of coffee or your cups of tea or whatever. Then if somebody is assigned to keep that coffee room clean, maybe once a week, it may be once every 10 days, and there is a rota, And that instills a sense of responsibility, divided responsibility on a daily basis, but a collective responsibility for making sure that area is kept clean and tidy. Display the schedule so that everybody knows who is supposed to be doing what and when. And then we can subject that to monitoring and evaluation. And again, we'll be talking more about that a little bit later on in this module. We need to clean in a scientific manner. We're not, like I said, we're not just talking about shining things. We're talking about cleaning as a means of identifying potential problems in our equipment. So we need to think about, what do we need to clean? It may be something like the filters in the air conditioning unit in our office. Do we need to clean those every day? Probably not. Do we need to clean them once a week? Probably not. They could probably be cleaned monthly. Now, I will ask you to think about your own situation. Has your air conditioning unit been cleaned in the last 2 years? These are questions we need to ask ourselves. If it hasn't, is it operating effectively? Or is it just clogged up with dust? Is it using too much energy? So these are some of the potential consequences we can see by keeping things clean. So what to clean, when to clean, in which order to clean. It may be if you're going to, I do housework in my house sometimes. I'm not shy to say that. And my mother, many years ago when I was a kid, she always taught me, first you take the dust off the surfaces and then you run the vacuum cleaner over the carpet. Because if you do it the other way around, you vacuum the carpet and then you clean the surfaces, all the dirt off the surface will drop onto the floor and you're going to have to vacuum the floor again. So which sequence is important? Who's responsible? How to do the cleaning? What tools might you need to use? Make sure that they are readily available. Make sure you have the appropriate storing of cleaning tools. And the very, very important thing, cleaning means checking. As we clean things, and it may be at the end of the day before we leave to go home, it may be once a week or once a month, we can use our 5 sensors in the 5S program to look for things that may not be done according to plan. That may mean we have to go back and carry out some of the other S's